Hey everybody, Life's Journey at 50 here. So, hey, this is going to be part two around the GS Trophy competition. Now, part one, obviously, it was a great one because Scott got a chance to really talk about his experience. Charles asked the questions about how difficult it is across the country. It is because we are such a big country that if you only have it in Greer, South Carolina, it's hard to get a lot of riders from a lot of other parts of the country, especially on the West Coast. It would be the same flipped around as Scott would said if we had, people from the East. So, yeah, I'm sure we do miss out on a lot of riders that are very capable and can contribute to this program. The bigger thing is to show the enthusiasm, the desire that everybody has to continue to have this competition as well as have a team to represent the U.S. in the International GS Trophy piece. This is coming after the weekend that BMW had a lot of their dealers out in California. There was no word that I know of. Nothing was shared within the community about any comments about the trophy. Now, whether or not they told people not to say anything, that's a whole different story. Again, rumors are rumors. But they're still under the speculation that are we having a competition this year for the GS Trophy team for 2026? So, Jess, who hosted and obviously was the women's team from this last trophy. She has a YouTube channel. I'm going to put it right here below. And she had the full hour, 45-minute conversation, I think, loaded up on there. This part two is really just going to be parts on different people that will comment around the trophy so I can show kind of the enthusiasm around it and kind of what it means to different people. So probably about another 20 minutes. If I feel like we're going to do another one, I'll do a part three, but I'll probably end this with a part two just to kind of give you guys an idea of the enthusiasm. And we really did this to get Motorrad to understand that this program means a lot to a lot of people. So hope you enjoyed the first one. Here's some cuts from other people. And again, I hope you enjoy this one. But get out there, hashtag, do all the things. Let's let Motorrad, BMW Motorrad, both USA and Germany, understand that there's a lot of passion around this and we want to have one. So, all right, folks, here we go. Later. Bye.
I'll jump in. So I'm Alan Collins. I'm located in California. And I've done 2 GS Trophy qualifiers on the West Coast in 2017, 2019. 2017 was the first time. I think I only had a GS for maybe a year. It was probably the biggest bike I owned by like factor of 2. But I have been riding since I was a kid. So just went out there and tried it. Absolutely loved it. Made some great friendships. Fell in love with it. Fell in love with this kind of like the sport of GS Trophy qualifying. And second time went really, did much better. Didn't make the final, but was just some of the best and most fun riding I'd ever done. And since then, we have a pretty tight knit community here in San Jose. San Jose BMW is our home shop, where if you know folks like Amy Hunter and Pete Hunter, are very good close friends of mine. And over the last couple of years, we've all kind of formed a group and become obsessed with the idea of doing some more trophies. Amy's done 2 qualifiers now on East Coast. So we formed a little kind of team called the GS Trophy Hunters, and we've been training together, traveling together. We've done local training, we've done performance center. We just came back from Enduro Park Andalusia. We've done the NorCal BDR. We've been planning and talking about it, doing more training together. But quickly on to the questions about the size of our country. Yeah, absolutely. I feel like that makes such a big impact on wanting to compete. Like, so I skipped the last 2 that were on the East Coast because that was the only option. And despite all the training and time I've spent now with my pals on the GS Trophy Hunters, I'm not sure, I haven't decided yet if the only qualifier is going to be on the East Coast. I'm not sure if I'll make it. If I make it, it may not be with my bike. I may fly out just to support friends. I'm not sure if I want to drag my bike cross country unless we do it on a trailer together. But if there's one on the West Coast, maybe even a little closer to the West Coast, I would definitely be there.
Truly appreciate your input and glad you're here, Alan. Thank you. It's nice to hear from the vets that have been through this, because the 2023 qualifier was my one and only. So there's definitely a lot more history than just
and made the team, by the way.
Well, Uh, Jags, welcome.
That's right, Jessica. Thank you. I
Good to
appreciate
see
it.
you.
Good to see you too. So I know most of them who are in this year qualifier would have seen me. I'm here based out of Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm the closest one to the GS Academy in Greenville, South Carolina. So I was supposed to be in the qualifier around 2023 because I broke my collarbone and I had an injury. I couldn't. But who are competed in the qualifier, you would have seen me on the Spiral Mountain, which was the toughest competition. So we ran the volunteer for Spiral Mountain. And most of them I know I've ridden with as part of either March Moto Madness. I know Matt, every year I meet Matt, and I've last year rode with Ben a little bit on March Moto Madness. And definitely Tammy, MOA is always there. Last week we were just together in the BMW opening. So that's what it is. And this year for qualifier, definitely I want to have it in both East Coast and West Coast. But East Coast, since we are close by, we'll try to do it. And for the whole community, the other trainings other than the BMW Academy are very useful is Tom Asher's training, which I've done, and Brett Tax, Chris Burge. So I've trained with most of them, and then most of the local academies are also very helpful. I know Ben has a very good setup to do the training. So Ben's Academy is also pretty, welcoming for people to learn. Great job, Ben. I've been watching your recent videos, and a good job on the hill climbs. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. Thanks, Jesse, for giving me a chance to introduce myself.
Yeah, thank you. We're glad you're here. Perfect opportunity. Ben, welcome.
Thank you, Jessica. And I really appreciate you putting this together. I know a lot of people have been very interested in the trophy and wondering where we're at with things. So I'm going to try and stick with your format as best I can, but us Dragoos are known for rambling. So, stop me whenever you need to. But yeah, so I'm based out of Norman, Oklahoma. My trophy experience, I started adventure riding in early 2019. My dad, however, the very first GS trophy in 2008, he was the first runner-up for that event. And then in 2010, he was one of the three selected to represent the US in South Africa. He was on me to try this thing that he had been doing for years. I was working on my own business, starting a family, but he finally talked me into it, and I fell in love right away. And I am a competitive guy, and I really like the idea of competition. So my participation plans this year are basically just to continue that. I understand that I'm not eligible, which makes it really easy because then I don't have to compete against folks like all of you here. There are some really good riders there, and it's really easy to sit back and go, "Oh no, they counted me out. I just ineligible." But I am very, very interested in helping out the next group of competitors, whether it's in the GS Trophy or any other competition arena. Frankly, I feel like that's one of the things that slightly hamstrings the US is that the GS Trophy is the only real established, consistent competition, and it's every other year. That's my goal, is to participate in as many general ADV competitions as possible, up to and including the GS Trophy, and then help out as much as I can, because ultimately I want the US to be competitive. I am putting on, shameless plug, I am putting on a class June 13th through 15th at Grit in Park City, Utah, that is a competition specific class. But I'm also attending a lot of the different rallies, whether it's March Moto Madness, MOA, Whalen Lane, that kind of stuff. And I really want to be an asset to whoever those competitors are, whoever is wanting to actually be competitive in the trophy. So that's my goal for this year, is to help out in whatever way I can. Yeah, definitely, I'd love for you to take my class, but even if you aren't and you are asking pertinent questions, hey, Ben, that counterbalance turn looked really good. How do you do that? I would love to be able to help in any way possible.
Well, thanks, Ben. Shameless plug is fine. I mean, it's all in the good name of BMW GS Trophy and what we can do for people in this adventure riding community. And it's important we have, and that's an interesting point that coaches aren't allowed, and that was an international rule, and that's something I didn't know. And Scott had talked about it.
I'm a little short on time, so
Mary,
I could
yeah,
go.
please. Welcome again.
After I figured out my technology issues.
Yeah, thank you.
I think it's the first time I've ever seen Sherry without a helmet and a motorcycle.
I'm
Cleans up nice, doesn't she?
unrecognizable, aren't I? Well, thanks for pulling this together. I'm Sherry Burrell. I'm in Parker, Colorado, part of the Colorado contingent of the last qualifier. And I think that the qualifier at the Performance Center was put together very well. I think it was run very well. I do think it would be helpful just hearing different individuals across the country. It's a long drive. It was a 2-day drive to get over there, and we stopped halfway and trained with Ben on our way over. So that was a great experience for us. But if there were the opportunity to have 2 qualifiers, maybe East Coast, West Coast, I think that more individuals would probably definitely throw in to compete. But overall, I think that this community that we have built and by participating in this event is just amazing. And the skills that we gain are not only fantastic for this experience, but of course for just continuing our journey with adventure riding. So, not hearing being a little bit quiet this year and wondering if we're going to have the opportunity to compete again, it's a little bit stressful because for myself, it was a amazing experience. I want to do it again, and I just have committed pretty much everything that I can to actually be a competitor in this event. From investing in the training, putting the time in, Candy's on here, Ben's on here. They have all been a part of my training journey. Jocelyn Snow. I mean, I've just done so much training, and every time I do a training, I think about how am I going to apply it to my next competition to go to the qualifier, and I want to do well again. I even invested in a different bike this winter to compete in the trophy. I was on a low suspension bike, have done fantastic on it, but as it turns out, I am tall. People keep telling me I'm tall. And the bikes that you actually compete on, if you go the distance, are going to be standard height bikes. So I sold my low suspension bike, and I'm now riding a standard height bike, and I'm already training for the next qualifier. So I think that, there are a lot of us out here that are committed to do it and would love to hear back from, BMW and, what is it that you're looking for from us? We definitely are out here promoting the brand. We're promoting community, the GS spirit, and, what do you need from us to make it worthwhile for you as an organization would be one of my questions. As far as necessarily constructive feedback, if there were a few things that I would like, to be maybe different at the qualifier. Of course, on the East Coast, I'm from Georgia. I have a lot of family there. I would have loved to have, them been able to come and maybe even watch some of it. I know that we could have some folks watching, at the semi and of course at the final, but it's a big commitment to ask your family to drive even a couple of hours or many hours and wonder if they're going to get to see you ride at all. So I think that, having some of the different segments that are viewable, by an audience would be really nice. I understand the, keeping it confidential and all of those things, but I also think that it also promotes, a marketing aspect of it too, welcoming in others that are interested in seeing this and participating and seeing their family members participate in this event. So yeah, that's kind of my summary of what I'd like to see.
Thank you, Sherry. Really appreciate your time. Hi, Candy. Thank you.
Hi there. So I'm trying to decide where to start. I'm going to give, I think a lot of people already know kind of the background, but I want to touch on a couple of things with the GS Trophy. Ben touched on like the first ones with his dad and whatnot. The first women's qualifier was in South Africa in 2015. That was when women were introduced to the sport. 2017, there were actually 3 qualifiers. Just for those of you that don't know, there was one in Rawhide, there was one at the Performance Center, and then the other one was in, Ben, was it Missouri? I think it was. Yeah. And they
Hardest one,
tried to
apparently.
say again.
Which was like super gnarly compared to the East and West.
Yeah, there was no, and that was the thing
No
that I was
continuity.
yeah, there was no continuity, there was no standard, right? And then in 2019, which was my first qualifier, there was one on the West Coast and one on the East Coast. They cut out the middle because obviously there's an expense to BMW Motorrad North America. The other thing that I will note for those of you that may or may not know, the GS Trophy itself is funded by BMW Motorrad, the mothership. The BMW qualifiers are funded by the country that's hosting the qualifier. So when we talk about, hey, I hope there's a GS Trophy, right? We're talking about 2 different aspects. One is we got to make sure that we're getting the actual GS Trophy. That is a commitment by Germany. And we have usually, in years past, because I've been a freaking groupie, probably maybe not quite as long as Ben has, but I've been a groupie for a long time. They usually announce the BMW GS Trophy in January of the year prior to the trophy, because it's the qualifier years, which are odd years, and then you've got the actual trophy, which are even years. So the reason this is so concerning is we have not heard from BMW Germany announcing the actual trophy itself. So we're delayed there. There's new leadership, there's lots of speculation, whatnot. I've looked at the one that they have announced in the UK, and they're very careful on their wording. Like, it's kind of interesting when you go and research some of these things. So yes, there has been a couple of qualifiers that have been announced, but I don't think that means anything at this point. So step one, I think for us, if the goal of this meeting is to go, what can we do? I think you need to blow up BMW Motorrad, the mothership, social media with, hey, we want this. Hey, we love this. Hey, like, put it out to your groups, GS Giants, GS Girls. Like, we need an initiative to go, this is important to a lot of people. Once we have that commitment, then I think we have the BMW North America contingent that we need to motivate to get these qualifiers booked as soon as possible. This is the qualifier year. Now, to that end, and Charles, I'm glad you brought this up because I've got Tara, who's with BMW of Denver, who's going to the same event. She leaves on Sunday as well. We need to reach out to our dealers, our local dealers who are all going to this event. And they're all going to be in the same shoes as Charles. Now, Tara's a little saltier than most, and that's why I love her. She is not afraid to say anything to anybody. She has already brought this up with Mark Boucher, And the response from Mark to her, and I did talk to her this morning, she was okay with me sharing this with you. Mark responded, hey, we have a dealer meeting in 10 days. This was last week. And we'll connect with you and the community after that event. So there are plans to say something, but it's very ambiguous at this point. Hell, I've bought, between my husband and I, 7 GSs in the last, I don't know, 5 years. It's ridiculous. Like, this is a marketing event.
I want your new one.
If they, I love my new one. If they end up doing something different, right? Or changing this or eliminating this, I don't think they're going to feel the effects of how much this actually affects their sales for probably, 5 years or so. Ben and I have talked about, like, this is something that they have built over time. They need to do a way better job of marketing and allowing spectators and getting people excited. They've made tremendous strides in trying to standardize it across all the countries. So there are things that they're doing well, but there's still things that they're doing so bad. They spend so much money on this event, and it's such a world-class event. And yet it's so hard to get information on what's going on and seeing it, live. Have a live broadcast. You know how many people would probably tune into that? So those are some of my initial thoughts.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, that really helps clarify things and get some direction for us. Like, it's nice to have some like leaders at the helm who like understand where we've been and can see like where we want to go. And I think it's nice to have that kind of guidance. All right, Melissa, you're up.
All right. I was taking notes, trying not to repeat what everybody has already said because the comments have been fabulous. Melissa Ragsdale, Knoxville, Tennessee. I was thinking back in the conversation. I bought my first GS, which was a 750 in 2020, early 2020. And spent the next year and a half, 2 years, no off-road, just getting used to riding a bigger bike from the sport bikes that I had come from. In September of 2022, I took my first ever 2-day off-road class at the PC. Had never taken an off-road class before. They, within an hour, got me on a 1200 GS or 1250 GS, right? That January, I took it again, brought 7 of my friends back with me, and made the decision that January that I was going to try out for the qualifier, that I was going to go. So I needed to chuck the 750 GS and go find a big GS, because if I'm going to compete, I need to be training on the bike that I'm potentially going to be competing on. So found a 1200 GS in March. And think I finally, you guys are going to laugh, I think I finally mastered a 16-foot full lock circle June-ish, late June. Like, it took a while for my brain to figure all this out in my little field. And if you are connected with me at all on Instagram, you would have seen lots of cones and lots of frustrated falls and just stupidity. Anyway, I had a freaking blast. There is no better way for me to describe that. I found my people. I found a tribe. I met so many people that I immediately connected with, and they have the similar personalities and similar traits, and things that scare them, they don't run from them, they run to them. It's like, oh, let's go do that. Even though it scares me to death, I want to do that. The qualifier for me was very much about a personal success. It was an opportunity for me to have a goal that I'm going to show up and I'm going to compete, and I'm going to see how I do, because I had zero idea what I was stepping into. The only information I had was old videos out online. I flew to Texas and took a class with Candy. I drove up to Virginia and took a class with Ben Fopp. Still couldn't do 16-foot circles at either one of those trainings, just an FYI. I had an incredible experience. And maybe it was because it was my first time. But I was just truly, and maybe it was because of all the awesome ladies that I met, right? That certainly was a highlight of my experience. I would have loved for there to have been more qualifying events across the country, because I learned throughout the event and after that there were a lot of really great riders that didn't participate because of money and distance and things like that. I would have loved to have had friends and family who were going on this journey with me, to be able to participate, to be able to show up and watch and cheer and bring me waters and check on me and just, be that support system. As it is, the folks that did come, and they came from 3 different states, they came from the semis, which I didn't even make, but I was okay with that. They were there, and I was so excited that they were there and I could share it with them. Um, for me, I think that if we have another trophy, I am in, 100% in. There's no doubt about that. I'm definitely going to do it again. I think BMW is missing out on a huge marketing opportunity. And I know Candy highlighted this earlier, but there is so much social media out there now. And I post rides. I just posted an experience this past weekend when I was in the woods and I should have had a saw with me. Um, there's a huge opportunity there for riders that are learning, that are communicating to other riders, that are influencing other riders. That are building the brand and building the community. And I feel like BMW is not capitalizing on that. We're here. We love the bikes. We love the brand. We love the competition. We're pushing for this. And I'm not sure that they're listening. And I think they're missing a huge opportunity here. So I really hope that they continue with the competition, because I would like to be there. And I can tell you, I have probably spent a good portion of the last 2 years, every female that I meet, how you doing? What's your name? How you like your ride? How long you been riding? What do you like to do on that bike? What other bikes do you have, right? It's an opportunity to have a discussion, to try to bring people into the adventure riding fold, and oftentimes to help them figure out that they can do so much more than what they're already doing. So that's all I got.
Thank you, Melissa. Well said.
I'm Cassie Meyer. I'm from Albuquerque, New Mexico. I was introduced to the GS Trophy, I'd say it was probably right around 2016. That's when I kind of got involved with BMW Motorrad. 2018, I was working at the BMW US Rider Academy, and they were setting up, gosh, was it 18? Maybe it was 19. I can't remember which year, but they were setting up the GS Trophy prep course that they do. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is super awesome. And I love slow speed technical riding. I'm not a fast rider when it comes to going out on the trails. Like, I usually get left in the dust. But if you are like, hey, do this and then do this, and then, I'm like, yeah, I'm in for it. Same thing. I really hope that BMW kind of gets it together and that they are going to continue with the trophy, because obviously we've joined in a little late, but just echoing the last couple of people, it's definitely, the camaraderie is amazing. And I think the big bike riding is super cool, because my joke is that we're the idiots that ride them. But I think that's what's so neat about it, right? Is that I think it's kind of the same thing for ADV, right? It's like, well, why would you ride a 550-pound motorcycle off-road when you could go get a 250? And it's like, because it's fun, right? Yeah, because we can. So I was a competitor in, what year was that? 22?
20.
In 20. So I was a competitor.
2021.
Was it 21? Thanks. Yeah. Thanks, Candy. I'm horrible with dates. So I sorely misjudged that competition and what that competition was going to be like. I was riding a ton. I was doing a bunch of BDRs. I was just out riding. That is not what the GS Trophy is like. So for those of you who have done the qualifier, you absolutely know what I'm talking about. It was physically demanding, emotionally demanding, mentally demanding. So for those of you that are like wanting to do it, getting out and doing a bunch of BDRs is awesome, but it's not the way to do it. So get some training. Obviously, I can't compete anymore because I am a coach. So wasn't able to compete this last qualifier. So I was out there as a judge. And, I really want to see more people involved in the competition and in the sport as a whole. I really think that style of riding overall does make you a better rider, right? When then you get out on the trail and you're like, I've done this, right? Like, sure, you're not going to find a pile of tires and ride over them in the wild. You're going to go around them. Let's be honest, right? But there's like some really nice core skills involved in that. So I'm going to pass this over. I'm going to hold it. Chris is driving, but I'm going to let him do his piece.
Hey guys, how you doing?
My buddy Chris. Yo.
There you go. So, hey Matt, by the way, I'm really glad you're involved. So glad to see your face again after a few months. Anyway, I'm Chris Bromsbrook, I'm the general manager for Sandia BMW Motorcycles, and I competed in the with Jess and Rich and a few others of you on the call. And man, it was to re-echo what everybody said, the camaraderie and the team aspect of the community that's built out of the GS Trophy is just amazing. And from my I've also worked for BMW Motorrad and been in the industry for quite a while, and understand that they do promote it, they do focus on it, but they don't do it enough, and it's obvious. And they don't do, wish they would promote it more. The whole idea of upcoming to the GS Trophy and the passion that we have for for example, just putting on this this Zoom call, and that so many people are interested in doing it and want to go after it, and it's an amazing opportunity to test your skills and be a better rider. And but yeah, and when it comes down to, lucky enough, I know a little bit of the inside on when it comes down to having more qualifiers throughout the country. It mainly comes down to cost and organization, and it's not easy. And what was it, 6 years ago? They had this is back when Tom Thompson.
There were 3, yeah.
Tom Thompson in 2018 GS Trophy. So it would be in 2017. They had 3, and one on each coast, one in the Central. And in all honesty, it was a shit show. It was an organizational mess on the training, on the judging, on all that, the courses. And so BMW has to depend on a school or a location to be able to run it and handle it to their specifications, which is really tough. And so I've heard numerous stories, numerous things about what happened in the Missouri location and at Rawhide. And so a lot of people complained about it. A lot of competitors felt they were shorted. So it's a difficult one. We all want that. So, but just keep in mind that it's a huge feat for them to be able to put on those qualifiers. And I was actually pretty excited when they only format. Some we competed because they just kept it clean. It was one course, and the competitors could be chosen at the end. But to your point, yes, it's all the way across the country. That's a 2.5-day drive for us to get there, and it's a huge time commitment for work and costs and everything else. So there's a whole balance of the whole thing, but we'll see. Hopefully I get some more information of what they're going to do. Obviously they haven't announced when. I was tasked. I'm going to BMW meetings this weekend, and I was tasked to ask our new VP Kevin Phillips what the new qualifier is. So hopefully I can get some inside information this weekend. For the people from the Forum Center, the thing is they don't know either. They'll know literally when we know. So it's pretty funny how it all happens. But there's so many people in the background trying to put all this stuff on, and so we'll see. But anyway, I hope to be there this next qualifier, and really excited to see the rest of you there. It's just an amazing opportunity to come and test your skills and build that camaraderie community. I have some really close friends out of it I'll still keep in touch with, and it's just a great situation. And Jess, thanks again for putting this Zoom call on, and I think we should do more of it, and also more of it with some of the new competitors coming on, so they can ask questions and be comfortable, and training to do. And if anybody's in the Southwest, Cassie built a training course behind my dealership just a couple weeks ago. We're going to be constantly adding to it as much as my company will allow, if you will. So if you're down here and want some training, come training with Cassie and I, and use the course in the back area. There's plenty of space. We're here for you. Any questions you have or whatever.
Cool. Cassie and Chris, thank you so much. I think it's cool that you have that course, and more dealerships should get in on that. Thank you all so much. You guys have a good night.
Thank you, Jess. Thanks, everybody. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.